What's going on, folks? I'm about to be showing you how you can push back your caliper on your vehicle when the piston comes all the way out, as you'll probably need to do if you're actually changing out the brake pads. There's a couple different ways you could press it back. What I like to do now when I press back the caliper, the piston, is use like an old brake pad. I'll take like an old brake pad that came off of it. This happens to be a new one, but I'll take my old pad and actually put this in front of the piston. Then what I would do is take my C-clamp pretty much like this, and I'll put the old brake pad in front of the piston. And then I could take the C-clamp like that and put it just like that on the brake pad in front of the piston. Then I could turn like this back until I press back the piston all the way back in by using the old brake pad. The reason I like to do this, for one, is that it makes the piston a lot of time go back in more evenly all at the same time, versus say if I just use a C-clamp without the piston, without the brake clamp rather, and put it inside the piston and press it back. Sometimes it can be, kind of off somewhat and not press all the way back evenly. So sometimes doing it this way, you'll be able to press the piston back all at the same time evenly. Sometimes with the brake pad also, you may have a problem where one side doesn't go all the way back in if you have, say, the brake pad on your piston kind of sideways, and you put the pressure, say, down at the bottom versus in the middle. But I also want to take the time for this video to talk about another thing I constantly hear, is that if you're pressing back your piston without using an old brake pad, that you can actually damage the piston itself by taking the C-clamp part right here and sticking it inside of the piston and pressing it back. So what I want to do is test that ideal. So I'm going to take this basically is a caliper. So I'm already pressed it all the way back in, so the cylinder inside of it is pretty much pressed back as far as you can pretty much go. So now what I'm going to be doing is taking this C-clamp and sticking it directly inside of its piston until it touches. And then what I'm going to do is just keep on twisting it. I'm going to twist it as hard as I can, because what I want to see is how much force will it take to actually damage this piston inside of its caliper. So I'm going to take it, and once it makes contact, I'm just going to keep on twisting as much as I can, because what I want to see is, will it actually crack or make a hole inside of this piston? Okay, so now it's all the way in. I'm going to show you in a minute. So I have it touching. Let me get it situated. So now it's touching the back and the inside. I don't know if you can see that, but all the way in the inside of the piston is pressed back inside of her, all the way up against the back of it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tighten it. I'm just going to tighten it as much as I can and see what happens. And I'm a pretty strong guy, so I'm trying to tighten as much as I can. What I'm trying to see is it going to crack or make a hole in the back of that piston? And so far, I'm tightening it as hard as I can, and pretty much it's like it's not really going anywhere. And the reason why I figure this is what happen is because I'm figuring that metal in the piston is pretty thick, and unless you truly are getting some tools or something to try to tighten this C-clamp tight to where it was hard enough to where it actually cracked that piston back there, I mean, I can't even turn it anymore. I'm using all my might to turn that, and it's all the way back up against there, and there's nowhere for it to go at. So if there was going to be a situation to where this piston is going to actually crack or split or make a hole, it would be in a situation like this to where there's nowhere else for it to go at. Of course, normally when you're pressing them back, the piston is sticking out, so the only thing behind that piston is fluid. So normally when you're twisting it back in, all your the resistance behind the piston itself is just fluid. So if I have this metal piston all the way back inside of this caliper and I'm turning as hard as I can and it won't go anywhere, the chances of you actually taking a C-clamp and putting it directly into the piston on this caliper and then actually cracking that piston is I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I'm going to say it's highly improbable that that's going to happen pretty much. Because I'm going to take it out and let you look back to see if you see any damage on. Yeah, I can't go no more. So now I'm going to do is untighten it and then take it out and see if there's any damage on it. And if so, it just may be a slight little indentation or something from it, but I doubt that it actually pressed through it. Alright, let me go ahead and take this out. And if you could look inside of there, I'm going to take a light so I can kind of shine inside of it so you can kind of see the inside of the piston. Like I said, and I tightened it up pretty much as tight as I could, going all the way back inside of it. And basically there's no hole in it, it's not cracked or anything. So I believe it's ideal that a lot of people say if you use your C-clamp by itself to tighten up, to push back in your piston, means you're going to damage your piston. I mean, I think that's pretty much just a myth that a lot of people has pretty much been saying, but really hasn't really happened. I'm not going to say it's impossible to happen, but I'm going to say it's highly unlikely that if you take this C-clamp and you press it back in directly into the cylinder, that you're going to damage this actual cylinder itself like that. Alright folks, once again I just want to take this time to make a video showing you a quicker way how to press back in your piston by using an old brake pad, which basically means you don't have to let the C-clamp part come out as far, because you don't have to go deep down into the piston to press it back, and you only have to turn it so far to even the piston back up with your caliper. And also to take its time to do a test to see if not using a brake pad and just using your C-clamp alone, it's going to damage your brake caliper by damaging the piston by pressing it back in. Alright folks, please check out our other helpful videos and please subscribe. Thanks.